afternoon, good evening, good morning, whenever you are watching this. If you are joining live, welcome to the Productive Wellbeing Show with me, your host, Abigail Barnes, and it is episode 42. And today I am joined by the amazing Alexandra Galviz, otherwise known as Authentic Alex. So by day, she coaches and trains C-suite consultants, entrepreneurs and businesses on how to grow their presence on LinkedIn, helping them to find their sense of purpose and tell their stories. And by night, she turns into a superhero LinkedIn blogger under the hashtag Authentic Alex, smashing one stigma at a time. Every single thing that you'd be scared of sharing publicly, she has probably written about it, videoed about it, or talked about it. So with it being Mental Health Awareness Week in the UK this week, we thought what better way to tie in her subject area of authenticity and vulnerability and kind of have a collective conversation about it. So if you are joining us live, then please put comments, questions into the comment box. I'm just going to double check that I can see you so that we can turn this into an interactive conversation as we go along. So Alex, welcome to the show. It is so awesome to have you here today.
Thanks for having me.
Right. Okay. We are good. We are live everywhere. The corona effect is real some days. Let's just, for those people who have no idea who Alex is, let's just sort of take us back like 3 years to when was it, 2017, when you had your quarter life crisis and Authentic Alex was born.
Yeah, so I had a epic quarter life crisis, having chased the dream of, by the time I'm 30, I want to travel internationally, have nice designer clothes, you know, all the perks of the corporate dream, and you know, money in the bank account. And I had all of those things at 24. I was the head of I'd just been employed as the head of learning and development for a foreign exchange firm. Wow. And it was everything that I wanted, and yet there was a massive gaping hole of just something isn't right. This doesn't feel right. I don't feel fulfilled. I don't feel like I'm where I should be in life. And I was very fortunate that in my role as in training and development, I was allowed to explore personal development, sales, marketing, all sorts of things. And basically really kind of figuring out, okay, if this isn't what I want to do, what is it that I want to do with my life and my career as well? So I kind of took that journey, and in that process, you know, in uncovering what I wanted to do, like that took a lot of self-awareness and reflection, and kind of going and doing inner work and going to therapy. And yeah, it just kind of, with the pressure of burnout and lots of work, all came crashing down at the same time. And it was a cocktail of depression, stress, anxiety, you name it, and kind of having to rebuild my life again and figuring out, okay, well, you know, I'm leaving that Alex and that life behind. What does the new Alex and the new life look like?
Amazing. So basically rock bottom became your solid foundation.
Yeah.
So how did you become Authentic Alex? What was so you were sort of maybe searching for your purpose in life? How did it all come about?
So I sort of I guess the first place that I ended up starting that journey and process was I'd gone to an NLP taster day, neuro-linguistic programming. And it was someone that I was studying when I was doing my level 5 in learning and development, and said, I think you should have a look at this and let's do this. And I went, and that was the first time I got taught what visualization was, and took part in a visualization exercise. And it started to kind of unravel the fact that I actually wasn't that happy in the job that I was in, and that there were other things that I wanted to be doing. And I had visualized that I was a public speaker speaking to about 100 students about my career, what I wish I'd known. And this was specifically like a social mobility kind of charity that was putting on this event, and it was a company that I knew, and they were paying me. And 6 months later, that was my first client. So I sort of manifested my first opportunity, and within 6 months I had left my job and I was doing what I wanted to do for a living. I had spent a lot of time going to seminars, workshops, coaching, like you name it. I tried lots of different things. I attended a lot of sessions from the School of Life in London, and just trying to like read a lot as well in personal development, self-help books, and just getting into as much as I could in terms of learning about myself and figuring out, okay, what do I like? What do I not like? What did I used to enjoy doing? What do I not do anything of? And just exploring, like, self-inquiry, self-exploration, and figuring out, like, okay, what's my purpose? And slowly, I would never say to people, because I run workshops on helping people find their purpose, I'd never say that there was one particular moment or in time or event or person that helps me get there. It was an accumulation of lots of different things I experimented and learnt throughout that kind of 1 to 2 years.
Amazing. So for those of you who are joining us live or watching this on the replay and have been asking me about finding your purpose, how do you find your purpose? Because I think it is a common thing where different ages and different stages in our lives, we will kind of get this feeling of, I'm not happy, and start to explore it. As Alex just said, it's a journey. There isn't just one thing. It's just having the courage and the faith to keep trying all the different things. I kind of call it like following the grubby breadcrumbs. There is no yellow brick road. It's just a mishmash of different things. And one person's path isn't another person's path. So I guess this is where your training is kind of helping people to get the confidence to be able to explore different things until they find their own formula, is it?
Exactly. Yeah, it really is that. And one thing that, from coaching a lot of people, so I coach a lot of people that work in the city and in the financial services around growing their presence on LinkedIn. And one of the things I get them to do is write their career story. And very often when they are transitioning out of the financial services and wanting to do their own thing, there will always be a golden thread or a red thread that goes through their career story of what their purpose is. So my job isn't really to kind of, my job is primarily to show them like a mirror and go, look, this is what I'm seeing, or this is what keeps recurring as a theme in your story, or have you noticed that you're very good at this? And slowly they start to put the pieces together. My job isn't to do it for them, it's to just show them what I'm seeing.
And in other ways, I would say maybe it's to be the proof of keep going. You will uncover it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the business that I set up around helping people find their purpose is weekend retreats in London. And I only set that up back in November last year. And it's honestly been the business that I've wanted to create since I left my corporate job. But I wasn't ready to, because I just felt like it wasn't right to show people how to go down that journey unless I couldn't successfully monetize and turn my purpose into a business and actually live my purpose without any financial worry, etc. So until I got into that stage of my business, I wasn't looking to kind of share that with other people. And then I got to a point where it was like, okay, I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to take other people on that journey.
Amazing. So guys, I also have to say, Alex is a LinkedIn, is it a voice of LinkedIn?
LinkedIn top voice for the UK. Yeah,
a LinkedIn top voice. So definitely give her a follow and check out all of her stuff. It is amazing. Sort of talk to us a little bit about like authentic storytelling versus just storytelling and your style of storytelling, maybe.
Yeah, so a lot of people always find it strange that I am primarily, my bread and butter is helping people grow their presence on LinkedIn. But if you follow my content, I will almost never share any content about LinkedIn, about new LinkedIn features, or anything LinkedIn related for that matter, not too much. What I share instead is my story. And what I mean by my story are, adversities I've been through, things that I'm learning about myself, things that I've gone through. And the reason I do that is because what I'm doing instead is I'm getting people to buy into me. So it's more story marketing. And then when they are invested in me and they like me and they trust me because of me showing up vulnerably and authentically, what will happen is they then go onto my profile, they see what I do for a living, and then they'll say, you know, could I work with you? And obviously, like as you said, Abigail, like for me, it's being proof of what I, you know, what it is that I do for a living. So for me, it started off, I started creating content on LinkedIn in July 2015. And since then, it has always been storytelling, you know, sharing my stories, what I've learned, what I wish I knew, if I could go back in time, what I wanted someone to tell me. And slowly it started to become more around mental health. So initially it was around career development. And when I left my corporate job, it was more around stuff like what it was like to have depression in the city, what therapy is like. Right now, I have a full blown newsletter about what I'm learning about going to therapy. Things, the more recent one is like hiding from the world, like what have I learned from, you know, going into myself versus putting myself out there, and that I need that. So I'm very much kind of like, you know, I'll share you, like I'll share my achievements and what great things are happening, but I'll also share when things aren't going well. And I think that's where you're being authentic. You're not just sharing a filtered, picture perfect version of yourself. And people love that story because it's the story of the underdog. It's the person that you don't think is going to succeed, that has the setbacks, that, you know, their story is very like up and down, but actually through determination, through courage, and through the encouragement of people that have been following that journey for a long time, they achieve what they achieve. So for me, it's really been about, you know, it's been a way that I've been able to connect with people, not just people that follow me on LinkedIn, but also like ex-colleagues or colleagues when I was in the corporate world on a much more personal level. You know, a lot of people, I get a lot of referrals, and when people say, I say to them, you know, like, how did you find out? And they said, oh, so-and-so. And I'm like, I have no idea who that is, but people feel like they know me because I share so much of me on there. Now, one thing that I do want to say in terms of tips for doing that, do not just open your closet and share everything that's inside there. That's not how to do vulnerability. One of my favorite thought leaders is Brené Brown, my number one favorite thought leader, I should say. And, you know, she says it's not about live tweeting your bikini wax. And that's a really valid point. It's not about sharing everything at once. It's about dipping your toe in the water, sharing something, a little bit of you, a little bit more of you next time. And every now and then, you know, expanding how much you share, because it really is a process. You know, I know a lot of people look at what I do and go, oh, I'd never be able to do that. And I'm like, well, I've been doing it for 5 years. So it comes easy.
Sorry to interrupt. But one of the things that kind of comes up in conversations about why people wouldn't, and especially a platform like LinkedIn, because if you've transitioned from the corporate world into running your own business, there's this perception of what will my colleagues think about me if I start to post stuff and get out of my box or rise above my ranks. And there's this whole thing about, there's a fear of success and there's a fear of failure. What if they don't like it? What if they do like it? And people flip-flop between these two. And I myself have sort of gone between these two camps. And so more recently have come to the conclusion that it's a fear of the unknown more than anything. And it's not necessarily the failure or the success. It's the fact that you don't know what is going to happen from doing this. So, $1 million question. You're posting this content on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You're sharing your truth. You're being authentic. And then a post blows up. And by blowing up, I mean, lots of people like it, they share it, they comment on it. First time ever this happens, how do you deal with it?
So when that happened to me the first time round, I'm an introvert. So I had a little bit of a freak out about it for a split second, because the post that had blown up was something very vulnerable. It was a post I wrote when I left my corporate job, and I posted it at lunchtime. And by the time I got to my leaving drinks, 80,000 people had read it. There were hundreds of comments, and I was like, oh my God, what have I just done?
Wow.
And it was intentional. A lot of people think it was accidental. It wasn't. I'd been looking at what people were doing, and I had very smartly structured my story and whatnot, and figured out how to grab people's attention. I freaked out a little bit about it, and then it was reading the messages that really kind of was like brought it home. Like, this is helping so many people, because we live in a corporate world that we all kind of sort of wear rose tinted glasses. Like, we all pretend that we're all happy, that we have everything that we want, and that we're succeeding in life. And then we're going home, or we're getting drunk on Friday nights, having a hangover on Saturday, not doing much on Sunday because you're exhausted, and you go and do it all over again the next week. And not that there's nothing wrong with that, but for me that wasn't working, and for a lot of people I think that doesn't work as a lifestyle. And I started to see how many people that was like provoking new thinking for them. How many people that was like, I wish I would have done that at your age, or I wish I would have realized that. There was a lot of people my age going, I really resonate with that. I haven't done the leap, but it's something. And I started to see how many people it was inspiring, and how many people were like hoping that one day they'd get there. How many people that were grateful that they'd gotten there already. And it was just really like connecting with people's hearts and emotions. And when I saw how much good it did for me to be vulnerable, I was like, I want to do more of this. I want to share more stories that help people, because I think, a lot of people want to write those kind of things, but they're scared, like you said, for whatever reason. And I've always said that what I'm aiming to do with my content is being the first to talk about something that other people want to, but are too afraid to. And as long as all I'm doing is just igniting the beginning of conversations by going, this is something I've experienced. We don't really talk about it in the city. We should. What are your thoughts? And then, people feel more comfortable being the second or third or fourth or 50th person to comment on something versus being the first. So it's really about, hence why I talk about smashing stigmas. It's really about igniting conversations around things that we should really be talking about.
And such a topical conversation this week given. So my next sort of question or thought from this is, so you put this post out. Is there now a pressure of, well, my next post has to be as good, if not better? What do I write? But I have to be authentic. I don't want to write, but I have to write. And a new level, a new flip-flop. They say like another level, another devil, if you like. So was it kind of this?
I think I was lucky in that the first year or two of creating content, it was like snowballing, like just more and more people were engaging. My follow account was just growing. I would say that in the last sort of year or two, I've also kind of stepped back from it, but I've also seen, whatever I put out there is not as widely spread as it used to be. And the thing that I keep thinking back to is that if I put my content out there and just one person gets a benefit from reading it, from watching my videos, and says, actually, that really helped me, or I felt less alone, or that's all I need. It doesn't have to be viewed by hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of people like it used to. As long as it's helping one person, it was worth my time creating that piece of content.
And that's amazing. That's an amazing place to get to. I just have to say that everybody on social is just saying, Alex, this is amazing. We adore you. Just fabulous. Because it was a conversation that Johnny Wilkinson was having at an event that I was at, and the rugby ex-England rugby player, and he was saying that once in his career they had won the World Cup, then it was always about staying on top, staying the best, being the best. So for 5 or 10 years of his career, until he recognized it was about how he felt and playing his own game, he didn't enjoy. And it's quite an interesting sort of vulnerability around. And then once he sort of shared that mental health challenge that he was having, lots of the other rugby players, sports players, and people opened up. And so I love that you shared that it's just your mission is as long as it impacts one person.
Yeah, because it's so easy to be like, I want to help hundreds of thousands of people. And what people don't tend to think about is that when you impact just one person, So I'll give you an example. I did a video quite a while back now about being bullied as a child at school. And I then, that video was probably one of the most viewed videos I'd ever done. And it had tens of thousands of people or hundreds of thousands of people watching it. And I remember very distinctly 3 people messaging me privately about the impact the video had, and then going on to doing a video of their own experience. And they'd never talked to anyone publicly about being bullied as a child. And these were grown men and women sharing their stories, and some were getting really vulnerable, and some cried. And they said, it felt such a release to put it out there. And then again, out of those 3, how many were then getting inspired by that person's story? So you might think that you're only impacting one person, but then that person's either sharing it with someone personally, offline, or putting it publicly online as well. And so you really, that's the beauty of it. You have no idea how far your ideas, your inspiration, your opinion, your voice goes around this world. And, that's the beauty of it, I think.
Yeah. And in many ways, it's not your business. Guys, if you've got any questions for Alex, we have one. I have one more question, and I'm just aware of the time. And obviously, Alex is a fountain of information, and we could talk for hours about all of this. But she is going to tell you at the end where you can find out more about her and an amazing program that she's launching next month as well. So just let's move away from the story and just into a little bit of the tactical. What have you seen from the point of view of your clients and the power of how, when you grow your profile, aka when you're just yourself, the power that this has to change your career, to change your life, to change the world?
So I think we were just having this conversation before we went online, but what I find a lot of people don't do is share who they are. They share what they do. And it's well, there are hundreds of thousands of people that do what you do. Why am I going to want to hire you, or why am I going to want to work with you, whether that's for hiring you for a company or hiring you as your service provider? And what I always say to my clients is, if you don't get people to know who you are or buy into you, why are they going to want to choose you versus someone else? How are you differentiating yourself? So showing up as you and sharing more of you allows people to get to know, like, and trust you. And we all know that in terms of sales and building relationships, it's all about those 3 elements. So really the starting place of that is sharing who you are. And I think a lot of people, struggle with that. It's not an easy thing to write about yourself. It's not an easy thing to speak about yourself. It's not an easy thing to write your story. But when you show up as yourself, because showing up as yourself is a vulnerable thing. There is a lot of fear about being judged. There's a lot of fear about not being enough. There's a lot of shame involved for whatever reason. So it's really about, getting over that fear and slowly starting to put ourselves out there. And, it's not as scary as it might seem.
Yeah. And understanding, I guess, Alex is the proof that when you share vulnerably, it creates the connection. And without that connection, there is no point. It's the biggest thing for being human, is to be able to connect to people. And I think that with what's going on at the moment, this was recorded during the coronavirus pandemic, the fact that we can't meet in person and have that physical connection is sort of a mental health issue that is being widely discussed.
And people are following, they're following people. They're less likely to follow faceless companies. And we know that for a fact. So really, when a lot of people say, oh, should I concentrate on my company page on LinkedIn or my profile page? And I'm like, your profile page, because, people are buying into you. They're not buying into a faceless company. These days, you have so many thought leaders. You've got the Gary Vaynerchuk's, Brené Brown, Bill Gates, they're all posting from their individual profiles more than anything what they believe in, what their opinion is, what, things that they want to add value to their community. And that's really where marketing's going.
Amazing. Well, Alex, everybody's asking where they can find out about you. So that is the final question. Where are the best places to connect with Alex?
So on LinkedIn, Alexandra Galviz, or type in Authentic Alex. I'm also on Instagram at I'm Authentic Alex as well.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time, guys. If you're watching this on the replay and have any questions, feel free to put them into the comments, and Alex will come back and sort of answer them as this lives in for eternity. But Alex, thank you so much for your time. Guys, thank you so much for those of you that were able to be with us and join us live. Until tomorrow, when I will see you at 11 o'clock live, stay safe, stay well, stay alert, and don't forget to wash your hands.